Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing a tribal deck, but not the traditional tribal deck that you might expect. There are no creature types in this particular deck that actually are relevant. Instead, we're going to go with Planeswalker types. So we're going to be doing the one that probably everyone would want the least, and that's going to be Teferi Tribal. As you can see, I've got my Grunk list and my Chandra list here, but when my pack openings came around, I was very fortunate to not open a single copy of either the new Garruk or Chandra, so, you know, we got Teferi, and that's what we're going to be playing with. I suppose we have a Liliana one as well. I think I've got one copy of the new Liliana, so that's not a list I've actually built today. What I have got, though, is a historic list that allows me to play with Teferi Tribal, so leave your dislikes. Now, I'm sure it'll happen. Alright, you've disliked. Let's move on and describe the deck. So, Teferi Tribal, obviously built around the Planeswalker that everyone loves to despise, and that's Teferi. So we got 4 copies of Teferi Time Raveler because it's probably the best of the Teferis. 3 mana, 4 loyalty, bounces, and allows you to cast sorceries when they shouldn't be cast. The new Teferi from M21, Teferi Master of Time, 4 mana, 3 loyalty. Says you may activate loyalty abilities of Teferi Master of Time on any player's turn at any time you could cast an instant. So basically, you can activate Teferi when you shouldn't. There's a theme here. So it's got a draw and discard on it, which allows us to filter for the cards we really want. We've got a lot of redundant cards in here that are good against certain matchups and bad against others. For example, ECD is a very good card, but very bad against aggro. Timely Reinforcements is a very good card against aggro, but doesn't really do much against a fair few other decks that maybe don't have creatures or don't deal much damage to you throughout the game. So this can be a pretty dead card as well. So we have plenty of ways to filter those out of our hands so we have less draws. The -3 allows you to remove a creature for the turn. It makes them phase out. So it treats them as though they didn't exist. It's like Exile, but they come back. And then the -10, which we can get to relatively easily if we've got the tempo and the board control. Take 2 extra turns after this one, and then we can use our extra Teferis to clean out the game. Obviously, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria at the top end, the 5 mana, 4 loyalty one. The +1 allows you to draw a card and untap 2 lands when you shouldn't. The -3 removes anything and puts it third from the top, so it's irrelevant. And then the -8 says whenever you draw a card, you exile a permanent opponent controls. That's another way that we can win the game. We've got Oath of Teferi, which goes very well with our Teferis and works for the Teferi Tribal shenanigans. 5 mana, when it enters the battlefield, you exile a permanent you control, and then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, so you can reset loyalties if you've minused on your Teferi or something like that, or you can reset a land, so it's effectively 4 mana. It's very good if you do that, and then tick up twice with Teferi, because then he untaps 4 lands, and then this is effectively free, allowing you to hold open your vetoes and your timely reinforcements on your opponent's turn, things like that. So it's pretty good, and we can get basically 4 tick-ups per turn cycle with Teferi, so we can get to that -10 very easily. We've got an honorary Teferi with Spark Double, which can become a copy of any creature or planeswalker we control, and it enters with an additional counter if it's a creature, or a loyalty counter if it's a planeswalker, and it's also not legendary, so we can have 2 Teferi Hero of Dominarias, for example. So you might be thinking, this isn't quite Teferi Tribal because we haven't got all the Teferis in. And you're absolutely right. I did try to justify running Planeswalker deck Teferis, like Teferi Timebender. I do have a soft spot for this deck. We've built this in Historic Brawl before, and it's pretty good. But this one, I just could not justify it. There was no room for this card, so it ended up getting a cut. And then obviously we've got some Niambis as well, which you could kind of count these as Teferi Tribals, because this is Teferi's daughter, spoiler alert. And it does fetch your Teferi Timebender, but again, can't justify Niambi when Teferi Timebender's bad. And then there's the other Niambi as well, which doesn't really do anything when it enters the battlefield, and all it does is discard a legendary card. So our excess Teferis to draw 2 cards, which is fine, but it's basically just a glorified divination at that point. So again, couldn't really justify that. So this is what we ended up with in the end. We've got timely reinforcements, as I mentioned. I think this is probably the low-key best card in the deck. 3 mana. If you've got less life than your opponent, you gain 6 life. If you have fewer creatures than your opponent, you make 3 1/1s. This is a tempo swing to end all tempo swings. You can essentially block everything and reset your life total with this card repeatedly, especially with Teferi Time Raveler being able to do it on your opponent's turn. If they play a creature and it's their first creature, then you get to play this once it's resolved, and then you make loads of stuff. You're always going to be, unless you've cast this reinforcements before, you're always going to be on the back end when it comes to the life gain and the creatures a lot of the time, except for in those dead matchups that I mentioned, of course. So this really just does too much work. I had 3 copies in, and then I ended up adding 4 because it was just absurd. So we use this essentially to tempo our opponent into surviving into the later game, where we can go turn 4 Shatter the Sky, or turn 5 Cleansing Nova, or even ECD. We really just need that piece to hold the line essentially until we can get to our top end and tempo our opponent out. We've got 3 copies. Oh, just remembered, we can use this now without it crashing, which is great. We've got 3 copies of Searcher's Canter. 2 is usually the sweet spot, but we have a lot of draw and discard in the Teferi Master of Times, and Searcher's Canter actually kind of discards itself in its own way, because it reveals the top card, and if you don't like it, you put it in your graveyard. So I think it's just a really nice turn 2 play that we really want. We don't have a great deal of plays in the early game. We've got Opt and Searcher's Canter, and that's effectively it. Dovin's Veto is not something you should really rely on as being castable. It's another reason why Timely Reinforcements, I think, is very good, because it can just undo the horrible tempo we have in the early game. We do have 26 lands in here as well. Again, sometimes when you're playing control, you probably want like 27 or even 28. I think we can get away with it in this deck because Searcher's Canter increases the odds of drawing cards, or drawing lands every turn, which is nice. We got that reset to buy us some time as well. And yeah, we've got lots of draw and discard to find those land drops as well, so we should be just fine. So yeah, that's all I'm really going to go into with this deck. The mana base, it's got some Vantresses in it, it's got some castles in it, so we might as well. Castle makes blockers, Vantress kind of does a Searcher's Cantery kind of thing, allowing us to set up the top cards of our deck. We've got 2 temples in here just to fill out that mana base a little bit, so that we got all the colours we want. Turn 2 Dovin's Veto, for example. And then Fable Passage to thin the deck out as well. So once we've got enough lands, we can decrease the chances of drawing those excess lands that we put in the deck, and then start drawing all gas. So yeah, that's going to be the deck tech portion of this. If you do enjoy this deck, make sure to hit that like button. If you don't enjoy this deck, then make sure to hit that dislike button. It helps me either way. And yeah, let's get to it, shall we? This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty then, we're in, and the mana base kinda sucks, unfortunately. We are on the draw, so it's a weird one. I think we can still keep this, since we got Timely Reinforcements and Teferi can be okay. We can still technically get to Teferi on 3, so it's kind of fine. We've got the Opt on turn 2 as well, worst case scenario. But yeah, this not being a Hallowed Fountain's kind of a problem. Alright, Fanatical Firebrand, so we're up against mono red, and we've got more tapped lands. You hate to see it. Timely Reinforcements looks like it's going to be pretty decent here, surviving long enough to shatter the sky, hopefully. We want to really dodge Anax, most of all. Oh, it's goblins. Well, Timely's going to be exceptionally good, and Anax probably isn't going to exist. Neither is Embercleave, if I had to guess. Alright, I do want to play around with goblins soon enough, but with Jumpstart being spoilt, turns out Krenko Mob Boss is going to be entering Historic. Krenko Mob Boss being one of my favourite goblins of all time, so I'm extremely excited to play around with that. So I'm going to hold off building the tribal deck there until much later. I think we're just going to go with Castle Vantress here, since it's a tap land and all we can really do is play 1-drops. I don't see Veto really making much of an impact on this turn unless they go with Icon of Ancestry. But that's something we can bounce with Teferi Time Raveler anyway, so don't really have too much to worry about there. And yeah, let's just pass the turn. So, do they have a Lord effect here? I'm actually feeling pretty confident about where we're at. Just based off this Shatter the Sky and Timely. I think they're both exceptionally good. I'm tempted to go Timely first, since it produces lots of 1/1s that our opponent currently can't get past, and if they manage to Lord effect and make 2/2s, I can just chump block and then wipe the board later. I'm not sure there's a great deal of cards they could play that we should worry about. Search for his Canter. Well, it is a good card, but we're going to Timely next turn. When am I going to find the time to cast this? I think because we got 3 in the deck, we want to bottom it. Probably just going to find one later anyway. Oath of Teferi and another Timely Reinforcements. Alright, so we're going to see the power of Timely. So let's gain 6 life and make 3 1/1s. So up to 21. Above our starting life total on turn 3 when we've done nothing up until this point. And 3 blockers to our opponent's 3 attackers. This card is busted. Alright. So now they're kind of forced to, yeah, pick apart things that they wouldn't really want to be picking apart. Gem Palm Incinerator dealing 3 damage to a 1/1. This can deal damage to face, right? And it's only creature. Alright, fair enough. Thought this was anywhere. I guess that is a little bit broken as far as goblins are concerned. Alright, Legion Warboss. And yeah, I think this is a pretty good Shatter the Sky position to be in. Although, again, I could see myself actually just going with Timely again, because we're going to have less creatures than our opponent. And we could put ourselves in a position where we've got less life than our opponent as well, so we can just delay this board wipe all over again and keep our opponent committing to the board. Alright, so let's get rid of the important cards that manage to let them ramp out. And we're at 19, less life total than our opponent, so let's just do Timely Reinforcements again. And go to 25. That's a busted situation to be in. Let's go Castle Vantress, because it's a tap land, unfortunately. Our mana base hasn't really done as many favors right now, but it's not as if we're in a bad position. We are absolutely winning this game at this rate. So, Ringleader for our opponent. Does allow them to rebuild. They got Chain Whirler and Matron, so my Teferi minus doesn't look very good at all. And we're just going to block for damage here if the opportunity presents itself, which it doesn't. Very odd. I am surprised they're not getting in with the War Boss and the Ringleader, to be honest. I guess they don't want me to double block the War Boss, but they've got to know that I'm prepping for a board wipe soon, right? I don't even know if I care to... Well, I suppose because they've got the Chain Whirler, there's really no reason for me to keep these tokens around. So they can kill their Firebrand and keep their token if they want. I'd rather this be an option. Because if they kill the token to keep their token alive, then I just Shatter the Sky and they don't get this 1 point at my face. Alright, so... do they do anything with the Firebrand? I presume not. And again, I wonder to what extent do I hold on to this Shatter the Sky and become an extremely greedy boy. Alright, Fabled Passage to grab the island so my Castle Vantresses come into play untapped is a little bit pointless at this stage. Do I throw away a Teferi purely to get my opponent to commit more into this Shatter the Sky? And draw a card. Drawing more board wipes is fine. I'm at 25, so I can take a big hit. I'm going to thin the deck. Yeah, I think we just, like, bounce the token or something like that. Or I could see a tick-up also being an option, to be honest. White, blue... Doesn't really matter, does it? I guess we'll go with a white source. Because if I tick up to 5, they've got to throw a lot at Teferi here. I can hold up and veto if they're running Icon, but I doubt they are. And I just get more value on my Shatter the Sky. Because you know they're going to play Chain Whirler. That being said, though, the fact that they've got Matron and that means that they have a tutor effect. I think they're playing Chain Whirler anyway to kill my 1/1s. So he's not surviving, right? Block. Well, I don't get to block. Yeah, Teferi's not surviving either way. So let's just bounce the token. I want to keep War Boss in play so I can kill it. And yeah, no attacks. Can't really attack even if I wanted to. So a big whirly boy. Followed by a hopeful land drop into a 2-drop. It doesn't look like it's going to be the case. And we take our first big hit of the game, going down to 17. It's an oof. Some people would consider it an oof. Me, not so much. Alright, wipe this board. Let's go... I think we'll go Opt. We want to find another board wipe. Definitely don't want Fable Passage. And there's Shatter the Sky. Fantastic. Alright, I think I'm still going to go with the Temple. In case Shatter doesn't actually prove to be the correct play. I might go for another Durdle turn. So really, I'm just oathing with Veto open. Doesn't seem too great. But we can flicker the Temple of Enlightenment and get a Scry off of the Oath of Teferi as well. So there's a Ringleader. Alright, we're just going to fill our hand. Got Ruin Blaster to kill non-basics. And War Chief to give haste. Those are the cards of note. Ooh, ECD. ECD is very good. I say very good. It's acceptable. I think we might as well get it out there. Goodbye, Ringleader. So we got Veto open. Not much to do with it, of course. War Chief gives cost reduction and haste. And then we go Matron. Are we just gonna play the cards we know at the most mana efficient opportunity? What's the kicker on this? This would cost 3 with kicker. It wouldn't really kill anything of note, though. ECD is looking like a pretty bad card in general, though. I don't think we're really going to get more than just kill a hasty 2/2. Down to 12. We got Cleansing Nova. So, could I die here? I think I very much could die. Because of the haste on the War Chief. Plus even, to a certain extent, Skirt Prospector. Just sacking Matron becomes a free card. So I think I'll take the mana-efficient play and just Cleansing Nova. Doesn't feel great, but our opponent's really not running out of gas, which is not what you expect from a mono-red player, but from a Goblin deck, though. Goblin's got a lot of tools to just keep refueling. And, yeah, we don't, unfortunately, have anything as a payoff right now. We're going to have 3 Fairy coming down, which is not insignificant. I suppose we could have even gone with the Oath of Teferi and flickered the ECD as well. But I don't know. I kind of feel like having a 3 fairy in play might be quite useful for a Shatter the Sky on their turn. More lands. You love to see it. Loyalty, please. Alright, so as long as we've got 4 mana remaining, we're going to be pretty happy. We definitely want a tick up.
I've got it.
So I could do this and pay 2 to bring it up. I don't know if I want to do that. Going down to 7 seems very risky. Though I guess it's not the worst thing in the world. I don't know about this one. We will flicker a plains. And I think we're just going to tick up Teferi. Keep him around. Now we've got Shatter the Sky at instant speed. Really want to see the Teferi Hero of Dominaria or even Master of Time. Any of those would be quite nice. Don't know about Spark Double. I feel like there's a potential for Spark Double on double Teferi Time Raveler with Oath out. To be reasonable, I think it's probably just not quite enough tempo, though. So if my opponent doesn't give me a reason to shatter, I'm not going to. I don't believe that they've got a single non-creature spell in their deck at this point. War Chief, yep. So they're really going to have to show me that they can kill Teferi or kill me. Legion War Boss. Is that worthwhile? We'll see how they attack. I definitely want that Firebrand attacking in so it can't just tap and do its thing. Yeah, they're just going to threaten lethal. And I will shatter this guy. Ugh, Surtress Canter is fine, but not great. I probably should have gone with a Castle Vantress. I think I'll go with a tick down here. Targeting nothing. For a chance at a better card that we didn't find. Do we go again? I think we might. Puts us kind of in a horrible position against Chain Whirler, but drawing Teferi Hero of Dominaria here with double tick up could be very good. That's not very good at all. That's exceptionally bad, in fact. Okay. Well, screw me. I deserve it for playing this deck, I suppose. Alright, no hasty shenanigans, please. Well, everything's hasty now. But I don't think they can 7 us. At 9 cards, so Surtress Canter's going to flip, but then the Ruin Blaster will kill it, so it's debatable as to whether or not we should even flip it over. We can definitely get some use out of it, though, with Teferi Hero of Dominaria before it dies. Which might end up being worth it, to be honest. We just want to find more board wipes, I think. Interesting. Alright, so goodbye Time Raveler.
Really should have seen that coming.
We're gonna scry with the Castle Vantress. Timely's extremely good, and so is Shatter the Sky. Actually, don't know which one's better. I guess Timely's... I mean, we're going to draw both, right? Should we just draw both? Yeah, I mean, we are. Okay. Library, and I think we're transforming. I think we want to make the most of Teferi's tick up. Effect, untapping lands. Let's go Castle Ardenvale. Take up with Teferi.
No time for a break.
And take up with Teferi. Let's try and go for instant speed Shatter the Sky with 3 Fairy, I guess. Teferi, Master of Time. Yeah, let's get him out there. He can phase out anything we don't like. So draw and discard. Dovin's Veto is a dead card, so we'll just dump all of them. Elspeth Conquers Death. It's not as bad as Dovin's Veto. And yeah, we just can't do anything but timely reinforcements here. We actually can ult to Teferi now as well. So not attacking Teferi was very interesting. Because I can... Actually, I can't do it now, I should mention. I can do it next turn. I was thinking this had Teferi's passive for a moment there. Bit of a brain fart. I apologize. I think realistically, though, we're going to get to that ult. Okay. So we have an Azcanter activation. We have 2 Teferi activations as well. So we can phase and loot. Alright, they're just going after Azcanter, so we'll tap out. And we'll take a Master of Time. I don't know if we need Azcanter at this point. I think I'd just rather have another Master of Time, which probably ends up dying here. Hit an Incinerator. Alright, so I can remove... Everything's already got haste on its own, so it really doesn't matter on the War Chief side of things. Guess I might as well just, like, phase out War Chief and loot. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, let's just have an extra. And yeah, now we can block 3. We've got the Teferi ult coming. So we tick up Teferi, ult Teferi, play Teferi, loot, everyone's permanence goes into the Shadow Realm, and we win this game. That is an unwinnable position for you, my friend. Good game. Alright. Yep. Timely Reinforcements. It's a good card. It's a pretty good card. Alrighty then, we're in on the draw with a hand that's got 2 Shatter the Skies. I think I'll keep this hand and we'll hope for a creature matchup, which it appears to be. So let's just do Fable Passage and pass. We do want to get to our 5th land, but I think we're just fine thinning the deck here anyway. Opponent leads with Mindstone, which has me thinking that we're up against something janky. Probably like Haphazard Bombardment or like Star of Extinction kind of deck. Let's go with a White Source, I guess. Timely Reinforcements could be pretty good. They're definitely ramping into something. And Shatter the Sky could very well be a very good card here. Not entirely sure. Alright, so we got equal creatures, equal life, so Timely Reinforcements doesn't do a single thing. And we got... Oh, well, now Timely works. Bone Crusher Giant. Coming on down. Well, it gives us something to do. So let's go above our starting life total and have more creatures than our opponent. Got that triple block potential if we really want it, but I imagine they've got more shocks and stomps. So whether or not that works is to be determined. And in fact, I don't think I even tried to test them on that one. I think we just keep chump blocking until our opponent keeps committing. They'll attack, add more to pressure me, attack, add more to pressure me, and then I'll shatter the sky and get more value. At the moment, I'm basically giving them a 1-for-1. And I don't want that. Alright. Big Tef, please. Ticks up and holds up and veto.
I'm known for my
Do not want to tick down. Our opponent will have more stomps and whatnot.
time for a break.
Alright, we got an opt. We'll hold back. And hold up and veto. So yeah, if this is a stomp, I will counter it. I might want to keep veto, though, for potential Star of Extinction plans our opponent might have. Whirly boy. You know, that's pretty good. Some might say that's the perfect answer.
Don't make another move.
Yeah. But at least we got a spare Tef, so it's not all bad. Oof.
Really should have seen that coming.
Yeah, I guess I should. I don't know, in a boros deck? I'll take this Tef. It's a Teferi after all. I'm actually going to go with ECD. We'll get back Teferi, Hero of Dominaria out of our graveyard. And again, I can hold this Shatter the Sky until it's more powerful. We'll get rid of the higher powered creature. First strike on Chain Whirler doesn't actually seem relevant at all. It kind of, I mean, the only relevance is that we can't triple block it. But I don't plan to. So, opponent gets free reign to do whatever they want here. I bet they're wondering whether or not they should commit to this board state. Would be a bad idea. More ramp, okay. The annoying thing that we have right now, as far as Whirler is concerned, is that Teferi minus puts him on 1 and then dead to Stomp. Teferi minus to bounce him just puts him dead to himself, basically. So I don't know if I can even play any of my Planeswalkers. Just hardcast a Bone Crusher. Alright, well, your Stomps cost a little bit more for what it's worth, which is not much. I think we just shatter the sky. Next turn we're getting Hero of Dominaria anyway, so this allows me to clear the board, hold open a veto for potential disenchants, I guess. Or bombardments, as I mentioned. Or Star of Extinctions. But I doubt Star's gonna happen. It's a weird deck. I don't really know what to think of it, to be honest. It looks very much like a red-driven deck that is splashing white. Terror of the Peaks. Oof. Alright, so we're going to go with Teferi with a loyalty counter on it. Having Teferi with a loyalty counter is actually exceptionally good here. Because it means Chain Whirler doesn't kill him. So we can minus on the Terror, tick up with the Teferi, and then we've got Shatter the Sky open, ready for whatever they play here. Double Chain Whirler, not actually possible with their current mana base, so yeah, pretty good. Interesting deck from our opponent. Looks like it's a mono-red Stompy with some white in it that we never actually got to figure out. I don't know. I really thought this was going to be a what's magic kind of deck. The Ravnica one, the 4/3 that when you deal damage to it, it does the stuff. Can this deal to any target? You can, right? Yeah. So you can have that like creature deal damage to itself. There's also the Goblin as well, the Stuffy Doll reprint, effectively, that can just take all the damage from Terror if they've got no good targets other than your face, of course. But yeah, good stuff. Anyway, let's move on. Alrighty then, we're in, and we got a board wipe for creature decks. We've got as counter for non-creature decks, and obviously a bit of control for pretty much most decks. So I'm pretty happy with this hand, and the mana base looks pretty good as well. Leyline of Abundance. Okay, so this is going to be like a Nissa Mega Ramp deck. Turn 1 Gilded Goose is a problem, which we can solve with a Time Raveler next turn. It's not too bad. I think this hand actually does beat what our opponent's doing, though early Nissa is almost guaranteed, right? Palladium Mia. Fable Passage on top. Somebody told me what I thought about this card. And I'll show you why I don't rate it very high. My opponent's about to concede. Alright, so they just did a 3-mana do nothing. And they used their Gilded Goose mana as well, so they're going to take the entire turn off to do nothing. Timely Reinforcements, I don't think I'm going to need it. I think I'd just rather fuel up the Searcherous Canter. Alright. Yep, Plains, tick up. If anything should go wrong, I've got Shatter the Sky. We also have Dovin's Veto as well, because I think they can just Nissa here. And having the counter for that is really nice. Cavalier. Alright, well, I've got the ECD for that instead. Our opponents once again use their Gilded Goose. This is not going well for them at all. Azcadta. We've already got a land, so we'll put that in the graveyard. We want to fill that as quickly as possible. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is also exceptionally good. We are at an awkward point now, to be fair. Just going to go for white. We're at an awkward point now because they can just naturally play Nissa next turn if they've got it, and it will kill my Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. I could tick up with my Teferi. Oh, my Teferi Time Raveler could die, sorry. Could tick up with this. I want to play this on Cavalier of Thorns. But it will basically leave me open to a Nissa attack. I might just be forced to Cleansing Nova, to be honest, on their turn. I don't think I've got much other options. And then they get the Nissa out of the graveyard. It's a weird one, alright. Yeah, I mean, I think we're going for it. Let's destroy all creatures. Be mana efficient. And then Cavalier can put Nissa on top. If they already have a Nissa, they won't be doing it. Yeah, they're just going to go for the forest instead. Or choose nothing. Interesting. Solemn. It's not a line of play I was expecting. Graveyard the spare Teferi again to fill up that Searcherous Canter.
I've got it.
I've got it. I think I'm going to go Teferi, tick up, leave open veto.
Must be done. Let's skip to the good part.
You too. So, Nissa's not a problem. Cavalier is an annoyance once again. Alright, I think we've navigated this into a winning position. We can now Oath of Teferi, double tick up. 7 cards in the graveyard, so we can keep this on top just for the extra land. Flip the Searcherous Canter. Yeah, we're not losing now. Yeah, good stuff. Oath of Teferi, 4 mana, double tick up with the Teferi because we don't care about the Solemn Simulacrum. We can tick up and tick down with Teferi, bouncing the ley line. So we've got basically instant speed, Shatter the Sky, and they've lost their ley line of abundance, so basically their entire deck folds on itself. And yeah, even got our Azcadta for activations if they don't do anything of note. So I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty happy. Alright guys, well that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed. If you have, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Maybe not exactly like this, because, you know, Teferi is a degenerate, and, you know, we don't want to play with him too much, but I do like Planeswalker tribal decks just as a concept, and this just so happened to be the one that I actually have the cards for right now, so yeah, if you want to see more Planeswalker tribal decks, hit that like button. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of the list. And yeah, I'll see you all next time for some more Magic Arena.